Something I think is incredibly overlooked in video games is the music. It's impossible to name a modern game that doesn't feature some type of signature song. Games are like movies in that sense, where total silence without music to fill the air would leave the viewer feeling bored. Music in video games adds an extra bit of stimulation that keeps the player engaged, and it provides cues for emotional response. The soundtrack to a game is incredibly important for storytelling and engagement, and that is why I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the soundtracks of my favorite game series, Mario Kart. I previously chose video game music in general as my topic for this assignment, but I realized very quickly that it was far too broad for just 5 to 7 minutes. You'll have to forgive me for the unannounced topic change. It would be an injustice to every game mentioned if I couldn't be thorough in my breakdown of their soundtracks, which is why I'm going to specifically talk about Mario Kart today. A big issue I see in the game industry is the misconception that video game is a genre of music. This is just plain wrong. Video games are a medium in which music can be presented and listened to, and can feature numerous musical genres in their soundtracks. This is another reason why I chose Mario Kart. The location diversity featuring tracks all over the world gives the soundtrack room to explore and have fun. Each course within the game has its own theme song, and the vibe ranges from smooth jazz to metal, and sometimes both within the same race depending on the part of the track you're at. With all of this in mind, I hope you'll understand why I'm mostly focusing on the more modern Mario Kart games, as recording technology and production value has increased immensely since the 8-bit tunes of the first game released in 1992. Let's get down to brass tacks here and go over what Mario Kart is exactly, in case this game is entirely foreign to you. Mario Kart is an arcade go-kart racing game created by Nintendo, featuring various settings and characters from the franchise. It has 8 installments, beginning in 1992 with Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which I'll be referring to as SNES. The latest installment is Mario Kart 8, initially released on the Wii U in 2014 and revamped for the Nintendo Switch in 2017. Nintendo hired their Mario Kart band to record all of the tracks for Mario Kart 8, which is one of the reasons the game has my favorite soundtrack to date. The latest game features race courses from previous games and reprises the songs from those courses, which is why I'll be using the latest recording of each track that I mention. Speaking of reprises, let's talk a bit about the main theme of the game. Mario Kart has a very distinct progression of notes associated with it, and it can always be heard in the title screen of each game. Let's have a listen now. There's only one melody here. Now I want you to listen to the theme from each game and see if you can spot the common motif, not that it's very difficult to. There's something about that progression of music that makes me incredibly emotional when I listen to it. Hearing how it started versus how it is now is very wonderful. The main theme in Mario Kart 8 is the first thing you hear when you open the game, and they really hit the nail on the head. They have a mix of everything in there, and they really capture that full orchestra feel with the large composition. On to the actual gameplay though, let's talk about some of the variety of genres I keep mentioning. Jazz makes up a pretty large portion of all Nintendo music, so it just makes sense to start with some of the greatest hits in the game. DK Jungle from Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS is what you could call vivacious swing jazz. It's got an incredible piano bass line, frantic drums, and backup horns while sax goes nuts on a solo. On a more chill note, Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii is a fan-favorite hit that takes on a calmer, fusion jazz style that really highlights the piano playing the melody and the bass line. I'm always going to be a sucker for some good piano. Electrodome, as the name suggests, is an electronic song featuring all synthesized instruments. Rather than sounding like an old-fashioned video game, it manages to sound modern and futuristic. Another banger on the more electro side of things is the DS's Waluigi Pinball. It's incredibly 70s electronic dance, like most music from that game. Mario Kart hits a lot of country elements for its more rural settings as well. Wario's Gold Mine is one of my favorite tracks to play on, and features a fast-paced bluegrass-style song, with a banjo and fiddle playing a fun duet. On another note, Bowser's Castle might be one of the hardest songs in the game with its glam metal vibe. The lead guitar featured here is just too incredible not to share. Big Blue is another composition with lots going on. It's a collaboration track with the F-Zero franchise, so you may recognize the tune from elsewhere. It's some incredible rock and roll where an electric guitar and a saxophone take turns playing the melody in an incredible duet. There are plenty of other songs in the soundtrack that cover more genres, especially music outside of American and European culture, but I'm going to move on for time's sake. A huge part of what makes Mario Kart so amazing is its dynamic sound design. The ability to immerse the player using songs and sounds is crucial to creating a good game, and Mario Kart does this perfectly. In an arcade racing game such as Mario Kart, the emphasis is not on the driver's direct inputs in these games, rather how successfully they utilize the environment of the circuit, which features cartoon graphics on circuits laid out with power-up items to either speed up the player or slow down their competitors. Creating music that is reactive or dynamic is a common problem in the racing game genre that is avoided by developers using non-interactive, popular music-based soundtracks. It's a quote from my good friend Joshua Raymond, who has since graduated from the University of East Anglia School of Music. And he put it really well there. Many games struggle to create interactive soundtracks and opt to just use pre-made music that will last the duration of the race without changing or adapting. This is just another way that Mario Kart has gone above and beyond. My favorite example of this, and it's taken all of my restraint holding off mentioning this track earlier in my jazz section, is Dolphin Shoals. The track starts off underwater with a calm steel pan playing the melody, and it's just generally chill. It gets even chiller as you enter the deep water section, where the music becomes more muted and kind of in the background. Then suddenly, the player bursts through the water and onto land, and the calm steel pan is replaced by a bombastic sax solo, hitting some of the sickest licks you've ever heard. The change is so drastic, and I love the dramatic effect of it all. Another great example of the player's interactions with the environment affecting the music in the game is on the track Music Park from the 3DS. I think you can guess what the theme of this track might be. As the player drives over bits of the track that resemble a piano, xylophone, and chimes, they play a little jingle as if you were hitting each note you drove over in real time. It's incredibly entertaining. Overall, Mario Kart is one of the most musically diverse games I've ever played. It stays true to its core themes while exploring a multitude of genres and experimenting with other cultures and musical styles. It's got incredible dynamic sound design that changes with the player's input and really keeps you immersed. I'd like to end this off by showing a recording of the band in the studio, playing the theme for Hyrule Circuit. You might recognize this music from another game, as this track is a collaboration with the Legend of Zelda franchise.